Thank you so much for joining us today for the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. Here on the Pastor's Potluck, it's similar to a normal potluck where you might get something that you want and there may be something that you just want to pass up altogether. And that's okay. There's something here for everybody. Our goal here is to encourage you and maybe in the process entertain you. If you're ready, let's dig in. Well, thank you so much once again for joining us for another episode of the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. What's up, man?
Oh, not too much. Just ready to get going with the conversation and excited to be back on the podcast finally.
I know. So. I'm excited to have you back. How's your week going? I mean, it's been a crazy week for everybody here. So
yeah, it's been a pretty crazy week with the congregational meeting Tuesday night, and then I had another one of my classes last night for the book club, which is fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a busy week, but it's all good.
Yeah.
You know, I got to spend a lot of time with people yesterday doing ministry, and it was all good stuff.
Yeah. It's awesome that, like, it's so fulfilling, like, whenever you're so busy, but you're doing stuff that's, like, really, really impactful and kingdom focused. And God just kind of gives you like that just kind of shot in the arm of like, hey, like, you know, what you're doing is like really impactful and really great. And we're moving and shaking things for the kingdom, which is awesome. Yeah. My parents are in town this week and, they made the trek from San Antonio, Texas, all the way up here, and they're going to be taking off on Monday. So on top of like everything that we've got going on here, because then I've got to spend time with family and, you know, my mom and my dad, and it's been good, man. It's been like a really good week of being able to see them. And now after today, then I've got a substantial amount of time to where the only thing on the agenda is just hang out with them. So
yeah, and they get to enjoy the cold weather.
Yeah, what's up
Virginia.
with that?
I don't know. It dropped fast. So people from Texas, when it's in the mid-50s here, it's going to be cold.
Oh, yeah. My dad was like, hey, you have a jacket?
Yeah. You're going to need more than that.
I'm like, I got a jacket and some pepperoni rolls to kind of help insulate you.
Just a couple of days I was in San Antonio, I could tell you this would be a drastic shock to the body if you're not accustomed to it.
Yeah, whenever you came to help us move, it was like 100 degrees.
Yeah, it was like the sun literally wanted you to die. So yeah, it was hot.
The sun, it's like a different sun once you cross that Texas state line. It's like the murder sun, you know, in the game Super Mario 3, where the sun's like trying to chase after you and kill you. That's what it's like in Texas. So
so I can only imagine going from that to mid-50s, and I think it's even going to rain a little bit today. It's going to that'll be a heck of a day for some Texans. Yeah,
it's for us. It's like it's really weird. Like whenever you think back of like the settlers, like going across the country and we're pioneering new ground or whatever, and this and that, and then people are like, this seems like a really cool place to live. You know, like it's, you know, there's mountains, the weather's kind of beautiful. And then all of a sudden it feels like this is like the opposite of the sun that's trying to kill you in Texas. It's like the cold is trying to kill you. So for us, it's like, well, I get why people want to live here, but man, the cold is just, it's the cold, man.
Yeah. And, I got softball games tonight that I'm playing in at 8 and 9 o'clock. So
oh man,
yeah, it'll be probably in the 40s by that point.
Now, do you have like leggings, like stockings that you put on underneath? Are you going to go out in shorts or pants?
No, I'm actually going to wear sweatpants.
All right.
Normally when I play softball, I do not wear pants because I don't want to be tempted to slide or hustle in any way whatsoever. But when I play in this fall league, it gets super cold, and so I do have to wear pants. But I'm still not tempted to slide because I know how that ends up.
Yeah, even if you do have pants, y'all are not playing at the place that we played at for church?
No, no. I play over in St. Albans in a men's league there, and
Is the field just about as equally disturbing as the one that we played
This one is. I mean, it's not a bad field by any means, but it's a dirt infield, and I'm not sliding on dirt. Too many skinned up legs early on in softball.
Yeah.
To know I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So
I mean, even if you do wear pants, I mean, it's just it's coming through and
it's not going to help that much.
No, you might as well. So. I mean, you might as well just slide on concrete if you're going to go slide.
Yeah. Playing ball when you're 34 is a good reminder that you're no longer 18. You just can't do the same stuff whatsoever.
No, not like running up the wall to catch the fly ball from going out and making a home run or whatever.
Yeah, we ain't doing none of that. There's a big old fence too there, so I mean I wouldn't even make it up a quarter of the way.
What if you had some like a step ladder, or like some dude on his hands and knees, and you
I'd have to have a big ladder.
It's
a pretty big fence.
All right,
so it'd be a big ladder.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I got to look forward to tonight, playing softball, which I love playing softball, but I'm not a huge fan of the cold weather, so
yeah.
Got to take the good with the bad, I guess.
Now, is this league kind of like a little bit more stricter or lax with like their bats and balls policy?
This is just like an open, division, so you can use whatever bats you want as long as they're not altered.
Yeah.
In some way, you can use whatever bat you want. There's a class of balls that you have to play with, but like they're good balls. They're not like they're not mush balls that like people hit home runs all the time. Not me, but people hit home runs in this league left and right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So yeah, you get to play with actual good softball bats and all that, and so
I think I never played on a league like that, and I don't know that I ever will. I enjoyed the time that we played with the church league, but I liked the rules of the special bats that we had and the special softballs that we played with, just because it kept a lot of stuff in play.
Yeah.
Now we did have some in the park home runs where these dudes were just booking it around the bases, but I enjoyed it because it just kept it kept everything kind of moving, and everybody had an opportunity to.
Yeah, that helps even out the game a lot. This one, like, what was it? 2 weeks ago we played, and my team scored 25 runs the first inning.
Goodness, is that a cap? Like, no, you don't do like scores, like score caps or anything.
Not in a single inning. So like you have to play 3 innings. So we scored like 65 runs, I think, in 2 games.
Goodness.
But I mean, there's also been weeks that we've scored like 4 runs. So it just depends on the week. But like. Yeah, it's a much different league, but it's there. I mean, it's fun, for sure. But I'm definitely not, an 18-year-old, 20-year-old anymore, and I get reminded of that. When it gets cold, I get grumpy out there.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm in the same boat. Like once I get cold, like I'm so stinking miserable. It takes everything for me to start to feel normal again.
Yeah.
And like once my feet are cold, I'm grumpy. I'm grumpy because the rest of my body's cold, and it's just. And then you throw in like a chance of rain, or you step in a puddle and your feet get wet. And it's just,
that. Or you get hit with a ball because these guys just hit like crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to get hit when it's cold. That'll hurt even worse than when it's warm.
Yeah.
Or you hit a ball off the end of the bat or inside the bat, and it stings your hands. Like playing ball in cold weather has its challenges.
Yeah. Yeah. I just don't want to do anything whenever it's cold or I'm cold. I don't know. I just want to be inside.
Yeah.
And I don't have a fireplace like in the home that we live in, and so if I want to have that sensation or that feeling of having a fireplace, I'll go to like Netflix because they have like that fireplace where it just plays continuously for like 10 hours.
Yeah.
And just put on the Netflix fireplace, and I'm like, the joys of digital fireplace.
Yeah, there you go.
Trying to psych out my mind.
Almost like the real thing.
Yeah. So, hey, man, I want to talk to you a little bit about faith for just a moment.
Okay.
It's one of the things that's just been kind of intriguing to me, and I think that the church as a whole can do a better job at just kind of walking people whenever they first make that commitment to exchange their life for the life of Jesus, and faith is just such an interesting topic whenever you start to like really think about it. And maybe I could be overthinking it, but essentially what it is putting your belief in something that, for someone that didn't grow up in church, and maybe somebody that just found themselves in the church and made that decision, to begin to believe in Jesus. Now, on the surface level, there's no initial evidence of Jesus. How would you respond to someone that maybe says, I loved what I heard, and I want to follow Jesus? Like, how do I begin to separate like the things, like the physical things that I'm seeing, and begin to maybe see Jesus in these areas of my life? Like, how do I increase my faith? How do I begin to believe in this invisible God that most people in the world have never seen? Like they just don't see it in the way that us as Christians who have followed Jesus in a while. Like, how do you respond? How do you begin to walk somebody through this to where they can begin to understand faith?
Yeah, I think with what you're saying, as far as how, with the fact that there's not something that can be physically seen, how do we have faith in that? And so, this would like lean me towards wanting to talk a lot about apologetics being the, one of the good ways that we can kind of walk through that intellectually and reasonably. I would start with that I believe that the universe is designed in a way that it seems obvious, I believe, to me, that there has to be intention and design behind it, because, there's just too much fine-tuning in the universe. There's, just when we think of something like DNA, and there's a great book called Signature in the Cell that talks about how, like, you have so much information, in just one single piece of DNA, and we know information always comes from a mind. Information never just randomly happens. It always comes from a mind. So therefore, something had to be behind that. So, I would start, like, if someone is struggling with, how do I have faith? Because, on the surface, there's nothing that I can see. There's nothing I can touch. I would say, well, maybe there really is. There's, I think it's in Romans 1, Paul writes that the invisible qualities, or the visible qualities of the invisible God, like, are made known to us in creation. Like, so when we look at creation, that is the natural revelation of God, where we can just look around and go, man, there's more to this. There's more to life than what I'm seeing with the naked eye. There has to be more there. I think that's one of the starting points, I think, for a lot of people that are struggling with having faith. Because I think sometimes when people hear church folks talking about faith, they think that we're talking about blind faith, because that's what we get blamed for all the time. Like, oh, Christians, you're simple-minded, you're weak individuals, and you just have blind faith. You have faith in nothing. You just believe. No, our faith is in tangible things, meaning like there's an evidence behind what we believe. We don't just believe this because we're ignorant, stupid people. We believe this, me personally, I believe this because the experience that I've had personally, that's the subjective side of it, but also objectively, like the evidence for the existence of God, I believe is very strong. Mm-hmm. The evidence for the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ is incredibly strong. If you ever get into studying that much, we could do a whole episode on that sometime. So it's not blind faith whatsoever. Like, there is a subjective side of it where people can tell you their experience with God, and nobody can take that away from you. Yeah. But there's an objective side as well. Like, we believe God exists because the creation speaks to the fact that there's probably somebody behind it. Yeah. And then once you have that starting point, you have to go, well, which one of these gods that the world has put forth, there's all these different religions and all this, well, which one of those is right? And then you got to kind of test and approve to see what that is. And I believe that Jesus of Nazareth seems to fit the bill for the most reliable figure in religion to truly be God, and the one that could show us the way to true life, just because if a guy, predicts his death and resurrection and he pulls it off, like, he's probably a good guy to go with. And and that's not just like, well, only the Bible says that's why you believe it. No, there's actually really good evidence, for why I believe that the resurrection is a historical event that really happened. So that would be the starting point. Like, if you're struggling, like, on the surface, I don't see anything, but maybe there's more there.
Yeah.
And I definitely, that's where I would start, is with those two thoughts.
In Hebrews 11, it says, verses 1 and 2, it says, faith is defined just for us as being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. And the more that you spend time reading the Word and reading the teachings of Jesus, then your faith begins to grow, begins to kind of like, it's almost kind of like compound interest just over time, and you continue to nurture that relationship between you and God with prayer and reading the Bible and worship. Then your faith begins to grow, and your knowledge of all things of God, then you start to lean into these things of apologetics, of being able to defend your faith.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that verse that you read, that it's, the hope, like hope and faith in what we can't see, but yet still I go back to that thought of, like, blind faith, and how the Christian faith is not blind faith whatsoever, because what you were saying is, like, how do we grow our faith? Well, for your faith to grow, your faith has to be tested. Like, we can't just say that, your faith is only as strong as the object of that faith, of what you claim. And so one of the things that I would tell people that are a little bit skeptical is, like, if you look at the teachings in the Bible and put them to the test as to whether or not they really do bring you to a more rich and satisfying life, like, you can, whether you're a believer or not, you can actually test that out. Like, the stuff that the scriptures talk about as what leads to life, we find over and over again being, accurate, like, and being the best way to live. And so our faith is only as strong as what we put our faith in, as the object of our faith. And so it has to be tethered to something, real, that can actually support us, and not, it's not some weak thing whatsoever that, like, well, we don't know how to make it through life. We don't know how to deal with loss. And so we had to make up some religion to get through it. It's like, no, like, we have tested this. We have seen it in our lives. And the object of that faith is changing me personally, because he's strong enough to do that.
Yeah. Now, whenever people begin to put their faith in Jesus, obviously there's times to where you feel like it's almost kind of like meeting a new friend, and you've asked them, like, something very important to do. And obviously with us as humans, like, we'll let each other down. But Jesus doesn't let us down. Now, sometimes the answer that we are asking, or the question that we are asking Jesus, we may not get the answer in the time frame that we want it, and it's all in Jesus's time. But the thing that I want to get at is relying and asking Jesus to do something for us, in terms of, like, maybe a financial miracle, or, maybe somebody in my family is sick, and just asking Jesus to take care of these things. How do you begin to put your faith in Jesus, like, whenever things of this world are, like, coming down on you? Am I making sense? Like, with that question, like, is it just like one of those trust fall type scenarios where you're just like, look, I've got my arms up in my chest, and, like, I hope that you're behind me, and you're about to catch me, Jesus, as I fall back?
Well, yeah, and I think what happens is, a lot of times we ask God in prayer, we're trusting God for something, then it doesn't go our way, and we actually use that as a reason why to lose our faith, or to walk away from our faith, when really if you thought about what you were really doing, you would go, well, that's kind of an ignorant way of looking at things, because if I'm praying to a God that I believe is infinite, who has all knowledge, who stands outside of time, sees the end from the beginning, ultimately has my best interest at heart, but yet I'm going to condemn him because he doesn't behave in the way that I wish that he would, how ignorant and prideful would that be of us?
Yeah.
Because at that point he goes, well, you don't really have faith in that God, because if that God said no to your request, you're not trusting him that his no is better than your yes.
Yeah.
And so, like, we sit there and we throw a pity party and we get fussy about the fact that God doesn't answer our prayers. And this is not to minimize the pain that people experience, but it's just if we really sat back and thought, okay, here is the creator of everything, infinite knowledge, infinite wisdom, sees the end from the beginning, stands outside of time. He already knows. You have to believe a God like that, whatever answer he gives is for your good, even if it doesn't look like it in the moment.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone Sunday after church, because we were just talking about this past weekend, about how, sometimes God's protection looks a lot different than what we wish. Sometimes God's protection looks like a breakup.
Yeah.
Sometimes God's protection looks like getting fired because you don't know what else was coming down the road at that job. Sometimes all sorts of stuff. But she was just telling me about all these things that happened in her life and how she'd gotten so upset about them. But then, like 5 years later, she was going through another situation in her life where she looked back and goes, had it not been all for all that bad stuff that had gone on in my life, I wouldn't have been able to handle this situation. So God used all of that bad stuff, even though he didn't cause it. He used all of it to help me get through the next thing that was coming to my life. Mm-hmm. But in the moment, it's easy to go, well, God, I cannot believe you're allowing this to happen. I can't believe you're not stepping in and doing something. But it's like, you don't know in our little finite peanut-sized brain compared to God. Like, we don't know, what the best path actually is. And so if God always has to do things your way, then you're not actually trusting God.
Yeah.
You're trying to use God. You're trying to manipulate God to do things in your life the way that you want them to happen. Then that's not the essence of faith and trusting God. Like, if you really believe that Jesus is the king of the universe, then when he says no, you have to trust, even though it may hurt like crazy, you still have to trust that that's a good no.
Yeah.
It's, we can't stand in judgment over God going, I can't believe you don't run the world the way that I would.
It would be in shambles if
it would be a disaster.
I was in charge.
There's that movie Bruce Almighty when he gets to be God over just Buffalo.
Yeah.
And he just says yes to all the requests because there was so much coming in. And then, it's like fires outside. People are looting. Like, everyone won the lottery, but they only won 17 cents. It would be a disaster if all of us got our way.
Yeah.
And we know that. Like, when we're not sitting in the midst of pain and we can sit, because right now I'm not in the midst of any sort of crisis, so it's very easy for me to go, I know that, and that shouldn't, but I know in the midst of the next storm that I go through, that I'm going to be going, God, why will you not take care of this? Why are you not acting? So it's hard to do that in the midst of pain, but when you can sit back, get away from the pain, and rationally look at it, you go, you know what, I think God having his way is probably always better than me having my way, because there's a good chance I'll make a mess of things.
Yeah. Just always good to kind of have that perspective of, and just be, and continually reminding yourself of who God is.
Yeah.
And where he is, for the lack of a better way to put this, on the pecking order.
Yeah.
He's at the top. He's in control. He knows everything.
Yeah.
He sees everything. And just, I've got to be able to trust him 100% because he knows far better than I will ever know. I mean, just with my little finite peanut brain,
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I think I know everything, but God does he does a pretty good job of making sure that I'm reminded of.
Yeah, I think, with anything, humility will take us a long way.
Yeah.
And from the beginning of time, humanity has set themselves up against God as a rival, with pride and all this, because we don't want to do things God's way. We wish he would do things our way.
Yeah.
That was the essence of the sin in the Garden of Eden. That is the essence of all sin, is that ultimately I think that I know what's best for my life, and how to bring the most joy and pleasure and happiness. I know the path to real life, and God, you don't, because you're wanting me to do stuff that I don't want to do, and you're wanting me not to do stuff that I want to do. So, God, you're out of touch, and you don't know what's actually best for me. And we've been setting ourselves up as the rival to God's intellect and his wisdom since the beginning, which is why we find ourselves at odds with him and in desperate need of a Savior.
Yeah. It's really good stuff. I mean, I don't, it's just, even for myself, like, just always to be reminded of that. And I've been doing ministry for 7 years now. It's just always just to be reminded that my sinful nature is a rival to God, and I need to die to that sinful nature every single day and just be obedient and put my trust in God, and he knows better than I do. I appreciate that. It's just one of those things where it's just, I hope that those of you who are listening maybe just take a little Post-it note, and maybe if that is something that you're struggling with, is just, just post it somewhere on the bathroom mirror whenever you're brushing your teeth, or on the refrigerator. Just post it up, and just constantly be and continually be reminded of that, and then pray and ask God just to say, hey, God, like, whenever my sinful nature, or maybe my ego, or my wishes get in the way of your will and what you want for me, just remind me, like, so I can just be put, not necessarily in my place, just be put in the right mindset of being able to trust you, and to be able to put my faith and rely on you to help me get through these times. So
yeah, rather than inflate ourselves, if we would inflate our view of God, it would really help us with that.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we have a higher view of ourselves, and we diminish God, when rather we should have a lower view of ourselves and have this like huge, immense view of God. And at that point, when you could see yourself properly that way,
yeah, my
guess is you would start going, okay, he probably knows better, because if I'm, finite, temporal, puny compared to infinite, huge, eternal,
yeah,
okay, let's go with him.
Yeah.
Clearly I'm not the good option in that moment.
Do you think that's what Paul meant, like, this, through this conversation that we're having, whenever he said that I must decrease and he must increase?
John. That's John the Baptist wrote that. And yeah, I mean,
my fault. I got it.
I stepped up to a pulpit one time to preach, and I saw that on a pulpit at the church that I was at. And I saw that, and I do think that's kind of the idea, is the more that we decrease, the more that he increases in our view. Like what John was saying, like John the Baptist, just imagine, he had such a difficult but important job. And if you had the slightest bit of ego, you wouldn't be able to do what John the Baptist did.
Yeah.
He literally knew he was the opening act. I mean, how many people, like, if you're going into show business, you want to be a comedian, you want to be a singer, whatever it is, how many of you want to be the opening act for your whole life and know you're never taking center stage?
Yeah.
That was John's call. And honestly, as Christians, that's ours as well. Like, we are always, the background actor to the grander story of God that's going on. And yet we want the starring role all the time. We put ourselves in the center of the story and think that we're the main character. And it's like, no, for all of history, in my life and in everyone else's life, God is the central figure in that story, and it's not me. And so that, I mean, for John, he knew. Like, he even preached. He said, there's one coming after me whose sandals I'm not even fit to tie.
Yeah.
I mean, that should be our life goal right there, to go, look, I will never be worthy, never be a rival of Jesus when it comes to intellect and wisdom and knowing the proper way to live and all of this. I do have to decrease so that he can increase, because who am I in comparison to him?
Yeah.
I'm nothing. Like, in comparison to God, like I am nothing. And so if I could just see myself like that, I'd probably stop trusting myself so much and trust him more.
Yeah. That's good stuff. That's really good. It's just, even sometimes, like, whenever I've been in ministry for a little while, I've been around church for a little while, grew up in it for some time. And, man, even some days I struggle with it,
Oh, yeah.
I wake up and I'm just like, all right, I've got it all figured out.
Yeah, I know what I'm doing today. It's always funny when I go into, like, sermon prep or something.
Yeah.
And, like, I'll be working, I don't know, sometimes 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, and then I'll be struggling, like, real struggle. And, like, that's what's going on this week. Like, I have not even started on the sermon yet. It's Thursday when we're recording this. I'm normally finished by now. I have not even started because I keep going, okay, just struggling. And sometimes in the sermon prep process, it'll finally occur to me that I've struggled for so long that I go, hey, dummy, why don't you stop and ask God what he'd like you to do?
Yeah.
Because, like, when you've been preaching for 10 years, you come in the office, you go, I know how to write a sermon. Like, I've got my plan, and, you come in and you do it. And sometimes you forget. It's like, hey, if you're struggling, if things aren't coming together, maybe the Lord's trying to redirect you somewhere else. Yeah. So why don't you take a pause and ask God if he's trying to do something new? That's what happened this week. So It became clear yesterday that when nothing was happening on Tuesday and the first part of Wednesday, with this sermon, I start going, maybe I'm on the wrong path. Maybe I should ask someone other than myself what God wants. And so, okay, now we're changing the text to what God actually wanted me to talk about this week because I finally included him in the process.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you hear him right the first time, and that's what it's not that I didn't pray leading up to that, but sometimes we just mishear and get it wrong. And then when things aren't working out, you have to start going, stop trying to force it, stop, pray, change directions. And that's kind of what we need to do in our life a lot of times is, hey, why don't you invite God into that decision? Like, if you have a big financial decision going on, stop going to Google, stop going to all these other people and asking questions, and let's start with him.
Yeah.
Now, he may put godly people in your path and help you find answers and all that, but let's start like we were having that congregational meeting Tuesday night, and I was sitting down Monday morning to get my thoughts together for that.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I felt so overwhelmed. I thought, I have nothing to say.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing to say whatsoever. I don't know what to say. And the whole idea of creating a presentation to talk to our congregation about the future of our church, I thought, oh, man, we're in trouble. I don't have anything to say. And then again, it hit me. Just a couple minutes in, I go, well, let me just ask God. And immediately, he was like, here's the text. Here's 2 points. I want it. It doesn't always happen like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, I ask, like, I've been asking him for 2 days now, what passage he wants me to preach this Sunday. And he just told me late yesterday before I could even get to work on it.
Yeah.
So here I am spending my Thursday doing it. So it doesn't always come immediately, but Monday it did. It was like, thanks for inviting me in. Here's what I want you to do. Here's your game plan. Get off your butt and start running with it.
Yeah.
Give it to you. And, I mean, in our lives, we just sometimes prayer and asking God in is the last thing that we do. Because we're like, nah, I got this, guy. I'm sure you got other more important things going on right now, running the whole world. I think I can handle this. And it's like, no, he wants to be invited into even the most, minuscule decisions and situations that we face. The moment we invite him in, things begin to change. And
yeah. Yesterday I was talking with someone about I was just like, I feel like sometimes like I have like a pretty decent amount of patience. And they're like, all right, cool. And so I woke up this morning and got the kids ready, got them out of bed on time, and got them to school on time as well. And then on my way here, I was just kind of thinking about that conversation I had last night, and every single red light I hit every single red light on the way here. And I started getting frustrated, and God started reminding me. He's like, I thought you had patience. I'm like, I have patience whenever I want to have patience.
Right.
Because I was so pressed for time to after I dropped off the kids, I wanted to get up here and get everything set up and get everything ready to record this podcast. And I'm getting frustrated because I should have just taken the time, because I'm thinking, what if I missed something that God had for me?
Yeah.
Or what if there was deer crossing the road, and I wasn't paying attention because I was trying to speed to get here. God, I should have looked for God in that moment instead of being frustrated with worldly things, as trivial as a traffic light.
We get caught up in it so easily. Like, I got here later than I normally do on Monday. So I didn't have a lot of time. Our first meeting on Mondays starts at 9:15.
Yeah.
And I did not have the time. Like, normally when I get into the office, I read my Bible, I do my prayer journal. And I had not had time to do that. Now, normally, because I normally get this wrong, normally I would have just been like, all right, whatever, let's just do this meeting. I'll get to that later. And then I may get to it later. I may not get to it later. But Monday, I just felt this thing like pressing on me. It's probably just because of all that we've had going on this week. It was like, just move the meeting back. Give me my time. And, like, I ended up writing one of the longest prayers that I've written in months.
Yeah.
Monday morning, it was like something was in me that was just going, just pause and do what you know that you need to do in this moment. Don't think that you can power through what you're getting ready to face throughout this day without me.
Yeah.
Because, we think a lot of times, and so we end up missing that stuff because we're in a hurry, we're impatient, we got stuff to do, and sometimes I know I do. I forget to just go, all right, God, why don't you come with me on this journey? Because I think things will go better if you do. Because I have a pretty good tendency of screwing stuff up on my own. I don't always get that right. But Monday there was something different. And I had an unbelievable day Monday. Just a great day in every possible way. Productivity, my attitude, the way that I cared for people, the way that I parented, the way that I was a husband. Everything was different because I made sure that I got that time.
Yeah.
My whole week's been different because that's the way that my week started off. Because I decided not to do it on my own. And just before we did this podcast, I have a ton to do today. And there's mornings I come in, I go, all right, let me just get to it. And when I do, I end up halfway through the day going, crap. I'm out here on my own right now, and so I have to pause. All right, God, sorry, I forgot you this morning. Let me pick you up and take you with me now, or actually better yet, you take me now that I'm finally becoming aware of the fact that I messed it up again. But, today, right before this podcast, all right, I have to spend my time in prayer because I don't have it within me to make it through the day without that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the older that I get, the more that I learn that.
Yeah.
I get it right once or twice a week now.
Yeah.
Still screwed up most days. But that's once or twice more than than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah. That's one of the things I enjoy about talking about, like, some of the older people that come to this church here is just and getting their perspective, because they've been through the majority. I mean, they've been in the same shoes that I have been in, and just learning to rely more on God. And they're just like, look, you just got to do it. Like, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts. So, hey, we're going to start a new segment in our podcast. So the first several episodes, we got to know everybody. We had some rapid fire questions, but we are doing away with the rapid fire questions. And to go and stick with the theme of the pastor's potluck, we are doing a segment called The Mystery Meat. And so what this is like, like if you ever been to a potluck, you go down the table and you're like, oh, okay, I know so-and-so made this dish and it's pretty safe. I know so-and-so made this dish and it's pretty safe, but you always come up on that random dish, and it's like, it's the mystery meat.
Yeah, you got to be careful with it. If you're a picky eater, you got to be careful. And I'm an unbelievably picky eater, so if I don't know everything that's in a dish, I will not eat it.
Yeah.
Because if I get surprised, man, I'm telling you, it's going to be a bad day.
Yeah, like the chocolate-covered Brussels sprouts you had.
Oh, Lord, that was the worst Halloween prank ever.
I'd have kicked somebody.
Oh, it was so terrible. It was right after church, and I was pumped because I was like, yes, a cake ball. Right after preaching 2 services, I haven't had lunch yet, so I'm like, let's do this. Standing right in the church lobby, and I bite into this thing, and I'm like, there is something not right here. So, yeah, I mean, you got to be careful for the potluck things that you're like, I don't know what's in that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah, so the thing with this mystery meat segment that we're going to start doing is, you know, if you scoop it, then sometimes it could be like a really pleasing subject to talk about, and then sometimes it could just be like, what, you caught me off guard. So I want to talk to you a little bit about, and this is going to be the safe bet, is baseball. So we started off a little bit about softball and your love of just getting out there and playing, but you are gung-ho about baseball.
Yeah.
I think that if you weren't called into ministry, I could legitimately see you being like a baseball coach somewhere and getting paid to do that for a living.
Yeah.
Like, what is it about baseball that you're just so excited about?
It was my favorite sport growing up. It was my dad's favorite sport. So that always helps when you share that in common with a parent. And I mean, I played it a lot, growing up, so that helps. But I love baseball, because I just think of all the different sports, there's an element to it that just, first off, hitting a major league fastball is the hardest feat in all of sports. It's why the people that make the Baseball Hall of Fame only hit the ball, like get hits 3 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
Think of anything else in your life that you get 3 out of 10, you fail.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. If a quarterback in the NFL goes 3 for 10, or extrapolate that out, you know, over 30, let's say they go 9 for 30, you're fired. You're out. Basketball player go 3 for 10 from the foul line. You're on the bench. You're finished.
Yeah.
Golfer go 3 for 10 hitting putts. You're off the tour. Whatever it is, you go 3 for 10 in anything in life. You go to school, take a test, get 3 out of 10, fail.
Got to take that test again.
In baseball, you go 3 for 10, and they say you're the greatest to ever do it.
Oh, I know.
I mean, that's how difficult of a sport this is.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just one aspect of it, because you've got the hitting aspect, which is the hardest thing to do in all of sports, and then you have pitchers trying to outsmart the greatest hitters to ever do this, and some nights they do it so well that they don't even give up a single hit, which is beautiful to watch. You've got fielders trying to catch ground balls and track down fly balls that are literally flying off these bats at sometimes over 100 miles per hour.
Yeah.
On the exit velocity.
And just having milliseconds, like if you're playing infield, having milliseconds to make a decision on which way to go.
Yeah.
And make a play. Like it is pretty crazy. Like
the
whenever
stuff
you
that
start
they do
to
is
think about
unreal.
it.
Yeah. So
like you strip it all away.
That's why baseball is the best, and it has an element to it. And I know that there's always been people in every sport that like defy the odds, but in baseball, like you don't have to be, 6'5", 250 pound, like whatever it is. You don't have to be a certain size to play a specific position in baseball whatsoever. Whereas like with football, like if you're, you can't be an offensive lineman at football and be 5'5". They're not going to do it. Yeah. It's not going to happen.
No, they're not going to put me in pads.
Yeah, they're not going to do it.
I'm going to get annihilated.
In basketball, with granted, there are some exceptions. There are some shorter guys that have had success in basketball, but by and large, if you're short, you can't play basketball. Yeah. That's just the deal. if you're short, you better be able to jump like crazy.
Cheryl.
There's those aspects of basketball that it just goes like I'm 5'7". I love playing basketball. When I go out and play basketball with guys, even to this day, if they're even a couple inches taller than me, I have an unbelievable time trying to even get a shot up because size, ends up playing a big factor in a game of basketball. Now, granted, baseball, like, size definitely helps. Like, if you're a monster like Giancarlo Stanton or Aaron Judge or something like that, being big and bulky, you can hit home runs, but, like, so can the tiniest guys in the league.
Yeah.
Like, they can all hit home runs. Those bigger guys just hit them further, but they're still only worth one run.
Yeah.
So there's just I feel like it's a equal playing field. When it comes to that, it's just the most beautiful game, like, to watch play. And I know a lot of people say it's boring. It's boring because most people don't, like, if you think baseball's boring, it's because you don't understand what's actually happening.
Yeah.
And, like, that's why people think it's so boring, but there's so much strategy in it. And there's strategy in all sports. And I love all sports. Like, I golf. I go out and would play tennis. I ran
track. Tennis?
Oh yeah, I don't do it a lot anymore. But like I would love if I could get into that. I would do it in a heartbeat. Like I used to play, just like pickup games or whatever. Every once in a while, I'd go on vacation. Yeah, go on vacation and play some tennis. At the resort or whatnot. Like. I like literally every sport.
Yeah.
But there's just something different about baseball. It's just it's on a different level.
Yeah. It's America's greatest pastime.
Yeah.
Like there's so much history involved with the game of baseball. It's for me, I enjoy going and sitting and watching like really good baseball, like competitive. Yeah. I tend to tune out a little bit more if it's like young kids or something, and I don't have any skin in the game, I should say. My kids don't play baseball. They're not a big fan of it. Like my oldest runs track and he plays soccer, and I don't know anything about soccer, but like baseball, like I've been to several like college games, and I've only been to one professional game, but I was just glued to it. Just because, like you said, if you have just even some sort of like basic knowledge of how the game works and how it plays out and goes from inning to inning, then you can see the shifting of like bringing in pitchers at specific times and the batting lineup, the way that those guys are put into the order. It's just I don't know. How do you explain it to somebody that just doesn't?
Yeah, I mean, without being around it, and like even like when it comes to like kids playing baseball, a lot of younger people playing baseball, it is not fun to watch.
Yeah,
because they don't know, like they're yet to really know what they're doing.
Yeah,
like there's sure it's endearing to watch kids go out there and run around and fight over the ball or whatnot, but now I've seen games like from 7 and 8-year-olds this past year where they play baseball like anyone else does, and it's unreal.
Wow.
Like we had our Little League All-Star team this past year that won the district. When you watch those kids play, everyone that was watching them was going, man, what? Like they know every time the ball comes to them, they know what to do with it and where to, and they were super sharp, and so they were a lot of fun to watch because it was like, oh my gosh, these kids like really know what's going on.
Yeah, there's some potential in this group if they keep on applying themselves.
But yeah, you do get a lot of Little League type stuff that you just go, oh my word, that's hard to watch. Unless it's your kid that's chasing the butterfly. Like
I was about to say, like, give us an instance. Like what's the shake your head moment? Because you coached this team, what was like the one shake your head moment that you're like, I'm never gonna forget this?
Oh my gosh, I've seen so much funny stuff. Like kids that would wind up to throw, and when they cocked their arm back, they would literally throw the ball behind them. Seen that. Seen kids throwing bats. Just kids doing silly stuff all the time, and a lot of times you do just shake your head and you go, Okay.
Put the dandelion down. Quit blowing it and making your wish, and let's focus on the football, on the baseball game.
When we did t-ball, man, they would love to just sit and they would play in the grass and the dirt and all this. But like once we got up to coach pitch, like you had to tell these kids, like, hey, listen, if you don't pay attention, this ball is going to whack you in the head. And there were times that I told kids multiple times, if you don't pay attention, you're going to get hit with a ball. And there was one instance that I remember that a kid literally got hit with a ball right after I had told him that. And I said, dude, you made me look like a prophet. Yeah. I told you, because the ball has a way in baseball. The ball has a way of finding whoever's not paying attention.
Yeah.
It just has a way of getting there. And, I mean, I like coaching kids because you watch the light bulb go off, because, like, a lot of these kids that I work with now, like, I've seen them since they were in T-ball or their first year of coach pitch.
Yeah.
I've watched them when they couldn't even catch a ball to now they're, like, running down balls and making double plays. And, like, I'm just watching them do unbelievable stuff that they couldn't do a year ago, that they couldn't do 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And I know just from, like, we're in a break right now, when we come back out in January to start training again, they're already going to be bigger, faster, stronger, and more mentally ready to learn the next phase of the game. And it's going to be awesome. Like, it's just cool to watch people get it. Like, that's why I like teaching in general.
Yeah.
I like teaching at church because people come up and they go, like, this is what I heard you saying. This is what it's doing in my life. And it's like you see the light bulb go off. There's something so, like, amazing about that. Like, when you teach somebody something and then they actually get it, they get excited about it. And I mean, that's like coaching kids in baseball. I would, if I was not called to ministry and I could find a way to make a living coaching baseball, that would be unreal. But for now, I'll just marry the two, the two roles together. And
now, one of the things like I really enjoy about baseball is kind of like the fanfare and the kind of like pomp and circumstance that everything that encompasses the game of baseball. Like, I'm talking waiting in line, you got your tickets in your hand, and, going through the turnstiles, and they're ripping the ticket apart, and then you're looking at your family, or maybe if you just do like a date night, like, hey, are you hungry? You want something? Like, is there a specific item, like, whenever you go to the baseball field that you are just like, I've got to have it? Like, for me, it's like I think of like hot dogs. I think of like just a classic mustard hot dog and a Coke and maybe like some peanuts or something, just like classic baseball fare. Like, is there something that you just, every time you're at the baseball field, you're like, I got to get this?
No, I'm like super random with all that. Now, if I'm at a Major League Baseball field, I want to go find like the thing that they have that nobody else has.
Okay.
Like, because a lot of these places do like super special type stuff. That's what I'm trying to do. I like having a hot dog at the ball field. Or now, when I'm at Nitro, Little League's concession stand, I'm getting the cheese sticks.
Yeah.
All day. That's my go-to at the Little League ball field. Is if you got good cheese sticks, I think they get them from Sam's Club.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
Now the rumor has it that they make a special thing for you, like just because you ask for it.
It is my deal. It's called. I'm trying to get them to call it the Beja. It is a deep fried pepperoni roll with 2 cheese sticks, all of it covered in marinara sauce. I've had it a couple times. I can't get them to trademark it for me. What you
should do is just trademark it yourself and just say, look, if you got to sell it like this, you got to call it this way.
So I do. I love. My family loves concession stand food.
Yeah,
we just absolutely love concession stand food. It could be because we're at baseball fields from March through October,
7-8 months out of the year.
3, 4, 5, 6 nights a week sometimes.
Yeah.
But we love concession stand food. But yeah, like when I'm at a Major League ball field, like some of these places do like super unique stuff, and so that's what I'm looking for.
What's like the craziest or most unique thing that you've ever had?
I haven't had it, but I've seen a video about the places that do hamburgers on glazed donuts. Like they cut a glazed donut in half, grill the two halves, and then use that as the buns of a hamburger. Stuff like that. Like
I've seen that. I don't know that I'd ever want to do that.
Oh, I'm in on that for sure.
No.
There's a place Megan and I just went to in Cincinnati. It's called Tom and Chi.
Tom and Chi?
Yeah, it was on Shark Tank.
Okay.
And it is a tomato soup and grilled cheese restaurant.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But their big claim to fame, and what's her name on Shark Tank?
Lori?
Barbara. Barbara
Okay.
Corcoran. She was the one that ended up investing in this. This place is huge now. They're all over.
Okay.
Their big claim to fame is grilled cheese donuts. So they make their own glazed donuts, and then like the basic one just has like cheese in the middle, and it's grilled. And,
yeah.
But then they have some that they use like mascarpone, like flavored mascarpone cheese and all these different. But I just like the regular. So you get the grilled donut with cheese in it. And at first you go,
yeah,
cheese on a donut?
Well, I mean, that's how I'm feeling right now. Like you talking about this, I'm going.
I'm telling you.
I haven't had breakfast yet, and I'm not even remotely hungry.
Yeah, there's something about it.
And we're
it's
talking about
incredible. So I could only imagine if you put a delicious hamburger patty on that, you'd be in business. It'd be fire, ready to go.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I guess I like to play it safe. Like whenever it comes to like, I don't mind getting nachos. I don't mind getting a pepperoni roll and then having cheese sticks on the side. Yeah. I don't know that I like to marry things together. Like my dad, what he does is like, okay, we cooked a pot roast on Monday night, and whenever they got into town, we had dinner ready for them. But what my dad likes to do is we had pot roast, and we're from Louisiana, so we eat a lot of rice, like a lot of rice and gravy. So like the drippings and everything from the pot roast, make that into gravy, put it on top of the rice. It's weird culture, but that's just life. But we do green beans and for our veggie. And so what he does is he takes like everything, chops up his roast and his green beans, and he like mixes it all together.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
Why?
Why? Exactly.
That's exactly
Why?
what I would do.
No.
Because that's going to be the only way that I eat rice anyways, is if it's covered in gravy.
No. Yeah. You just don't eat plain white rice just for the heck of it.
No, it's weird. It looks like maggots.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Every time I see plain white rice, that's all I think about. And it's just like tiny little maggots that want to just go all over your mouth. Like I'll do some fried rice at like a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
But I am never eating white rice ever.
No, you've always got to put gravy on it.
Oh,
something.
Yeah.
You can't just eat it plain.
No, I'm down with the gravy.
Yeah. No, it's one of those things. How do I explain this? I mean, it's just so ingrained in culture. I mean, in Louisiana, they grow rice there. And
yeah.
So, and it's been around ever since. It's been around for a long time. I don't want to get into the history of it just because it's a very sensitive subject of why rice is there, but it's been around for a long time, and it's part of culture, and I'm grateful for it because I love it. Because like, if you ever want 2,000 of something,
yeah,
rice is the perfect solution.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a Mitch Hedberg quote there.
Yeah.
So, but it's just one of those things. So, yeah, I can't mix it. Like, I want donuts, I want a grilled cheese, and I want a hamburger. And I'll even eat them in that order, like, or put a grilled cheese donut and mix up the savory sweet. I just don't want to mash.
We're gonna go
together.
to Tom and Chi, and you're gonna see.
Where's the closest one?
Newport. So probably 3.5 hours, 3 hours.
Yeah.
There's an aquarium there. There's all kinds of stuff to do there.
Okay.
It's right across the river from Cincinnati.
Okay.
It's awesome. Yeah, we're going to go there, and you're going to eat this grilled cheese donut, and you're going to realize it's amazing.
Yeah. All these things that we keep on saying, we gotta keep a running tally. So write down grilled cheese, burger, donut, whatever. And so I could try this and then kind of keep everybody up to date.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just you're weird about food. I'm a little weird about food. I just don't like to mix things. I'll give it a shot. I'll promise you that.
I'm picky, But if everything that I like is a part of it, I'm down for something weird like that. So like I'm in on cheese and I'm in on donuts, so I don't mind mixing them.
Well, you like eggs, right?
Yeah.
You like cotton candy?
I mean, not really.
Okay. Do you like Snickers?
Yeah.
Okay, let's mix up some eggs and Snickers.
I would try it. It wouldn't bother me to try it because individually I like both of those things.
I don't want to try eggs and Snickers.
I mean, I don't want to, but I would.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. What is it like? The greatest leaders and people in the history, they had to take a chance, right?
Yeah, I would try it. Who knows? We could be on to the next big thing.
I mean, somebody like looked at a cow one point in time and said, "I'm gonna cut that son of a gun open and I'm gonna cook him."
Yeah, and we're gonna cook every different part of him and find out that every little different part of him is a little bit different.
And it's all delicious.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, if we're the first Snicker eggs, then there it is.
I feel sorry for the first people that looked at celery. I despise celery. I hate it with a passion. But somebody looked at something like growing out of the ground and said, "You know what? I'm gonna put that in my mouth and I'm gonna eat it." I mean, you had to have been pretty desperate to eat celery.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of celery either because no matter how much you cook it, it never stops being crunchy. Which, if I'm gonna eat vegetables, I'm gonna need them to be real soft.
Yeah.
And
now they put celery in the pasta fagioli at Olive Garden, but that's like slow cooked all day. It's not crunchy. It like falls apart. Like it's vegetable.
I'll probably just
candy.
eat right around it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't even get it because it's got more vegetables than you know what to do.
I've had the pasta fagioli. I don't mind. Actually, I do not mind vegetables in soup as long as they're soft.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as as long as it just goes all down with the liquid, I'm fine. But if I have to crunch a carrot or a celery, I'm finished. I can't do it.
Oh my goodness! We're back on you talking about your dislike for vegetables. So, well, hey man, I really appreciate it today. Just kind of taking the time just this morning just to be reminded of where I continually need to put God in my life, and talking about baseball. This mystery meat segment. Now, the next time that we do this, it's going to be something completely random.
Taking the gloves off.
Yeah. We're just kind of easing in. We just want to introduce everybody to this segment. But, yeah, the next one is going to be genuinely mysterious.
I look forward to that.
It may have, like, a little jiggle to it.
Yeah.
It may have, like, what is it? That head cheese stuff? Where it's, like, random parts of.
Why do people do that?
But then they put it in, like, Jell-O.
Yeah.
Yeah, it may be something. Yeah,
that's what we're dealing with.
I'm gonna ask a question. And you're gonna sit there and go, "Oh my gosh, Jared just literally gave me the head cheese."
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, I'm gonna surprise you.
Yeah. Well, one of these days, like we talked about it, like we have to like change. You have to ask me the questions because we haven't done like the get to know Jared segment or whatever. I've kind of chimed in a little bit, but. You'll have to be the moderator.
Yeah, we'll have to get that going.
That's all good.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. Hey, if you haven't done so already, you can subscribe to this. But also, if there's something that you want us to talk about, let us know. And I'm telling you, it could be about anything. If you want us to talk about head cheese for 10 minutes, we'll talk about head cheese.
We'll buy some, and Jared will even try it.
I will. Hey, for the sake of the podcast, I'll try to describe it.
Oh, man.
Dude, speaking of somebody buying something, we still haven't gotten our grape salad.
Well, I'm going to have some Saturday, but I know that you're not going to be there.
Yeah, my family's in town.
I know, so I'm going to have it without you.
Bring me some.
We'll see.
Hey, if there's some left.
We'll see.
Yeah. Just bring your empty.
It's going to be, since it's going to be for Halloween, it's going to be eyeball salad.
Oh, eyeball salad.
Yeah.
All right. I may show up.
Just for the eyeball salad?
Just for the grape eyeball salad.
There we go.
Yeah. So, awesome, man. I really, once again, really appreciate you. Thank you so much for everybody listening in, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening in with us today. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram. You can also watch the video version of this on YouTube as well. All you have to do is search up the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. From all of us here, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you next week.